By the way, these charges against Paul and Gracia, the ones that killed his nomination, are nothing compared to the charges that were against Pete Hegseth before he was confirmed as our nation's defense chief. As bad as Ingracia's words are, and maybe he kind of sexually harassed that female coworker by maybe tricking her into sharing his suite at the Ritz-Carlton, it's nothing compared to Pete Hegseth, who you might remember was accused of rape. You had to pay the woman $50,000 to make it go away. Paul and Gracia, amateur compared to Pete Hegseth. In fact, the reason Trump pulled Ingracia's nomination Tuesday is he wasn't enough of a monster. There's no history of alcoholism like with Hegseth, no financial mismanagement like Hegseth, no adultery, no spousal abuse like our defense chief, Pete Hegseth. Ingracia was nothing compared to Pete Hegseth, seen here in one of his neo-Nazi tattoos. Here is Pete Hegseth with another Nazi tattoo. It says Deus Vult on his bicep. As I explained on the last show, and I got complaints, so I'm going to go over this again. Yes, Deus Vult in Latin means God's will. What's wrong with Deus Vult? What's wrong with saying God's will? It's not an innocent slogan. And remember, Hegseth is a graduate of Princeton. He knows what Deus Vult means. It was chanted by the Crusaders while waging war on Islam during the Crusades. Deus Vult now is the slogan for neo-Nazis in Europe who want to rid the entire continent of Muslims. Deus Vult. It's God's will. You have in Germany right now a party that came in second in this year's parliamentary elections. This party, Alternative for Germany, calls for the repatriation of all Muslims, whether they're German citizens or non-German citizens. As long as they're Muslims, they gotta go. They have to be sent back to their country of origin. The Alternative for Germany party has the support not just from Hegseth, but our Vice President J.D. Vance. They openly call for the forced removal of Muslims from Germany. That's what Deus Vult means. Yes, its roots are in the Crusades, and that alone makes it problematic. But now it's become the symbol for a new crusade. In his book, aptly named American Crusade, by the way, during, right after 9/11 and when we went to war illegally against Iraq and Afghanistan, Republicans were told, don't use the word crusade. Don't use the word crusade. It's offensive to Muslims and we're killing Muslims. Hegseth said, F this politically correct stuff, and he named his book American Crusade. In that book, Hegseth calls America a Christian nation. He says Islam is a religion of war that's incompatible with the West, incompatible with Western forms of government. Pete Hegseth is incompatible with Western forms of government. Unlike Paul and Gracia, who was accused of sexual harassment, Pete Hegseth was accused of rape and paid the woman in a sealed settlement. Never forget, Pete Hegseth was hired to work over at Fox by Roger Ailes, who ran Fox News, turning Fox News offices into his own rape factory. Female workers over at Fox News, when Roger Ailes was there, they were lucky if all he did was inappropriately touch them. It should come as no surprise, Pete Hegseth has also been accused of beating his second wife. That accusation comes from Hegseth's former sister-in-law, who signed a sworn affidavit during Hegseth's divorce proceedings. She said he was physically and emotionally abusive. Rolling Stone magazine in January of this year revealed the contents of Hegseth's former sister-in-law's affidavit, in which she said she witnessed Pete Hegseth being violent with her sister, who was his then wife. She said he was emotionally abusive in front of their children, and she said Hegseth is a falling down alcoholic. In the affidavit, the sister-in-law said Hegseth's physical abuse towards his wife got so bad that his wife gave her sister a safe word to let her know when she needed help, and she would often phone her sister while hiding from Hegseth in their closet. Senator Tom Tillis from North Carolina, Republican, promised that sister-in-law in January she would testify before the Senate confirmation hearings, but he chickened out. Republican Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski accused Tillis of stringing her along, making promises that he knew he wasn't going to keep. Tillis promised the sister-in-law her affidavits would be entered into the record. He chickened out. Not only did he not enter her affidavits into the record, he voted for Pete Hegseth. That's Tom Tillis, Republican. And he's one of the good Republicans who's leaving, not running for re-election. Can't take it anymore. A lot of death threats. But you know what? We really didn't need Pete Hegseth's sister-in-law's testimony to know that he's abusive towards women. Why take her word for it? Let's take the word of Pete Hegseth's very own mother, Penelope Hegseth, who sent her son an email on April 30th, 2018, accusing her son, Pete Hegseth, of being an abuser of women. This is from the New York Times. You can Google it. This is what our defense chief, Pete Hegseth's mother, wrote to her son on April 30th, 2018, 1 year after Hegseth was accused of rape. This was in the hands of the Senate before they voted on Pete Hegseth. This was in the New York Times, okay? This is Pete Hegseth's mother writing to him on April 30th, 2018. As a woman and your mother, I feel I must speak out. You are an abuser of women. That is the ugly truth. And I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. You are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is the sad, sad truth. That is Pete Hegseth's mother, Penelope, an email she wrote to her son on April 30th, 2018. She didn't deny she wrote it. She apologized for writing it. Despite all this information in the public record, Hegseth's nomination cleared the Senate after J.D. Vance broke the tie vote. All it took was Tom Tillis to say no. He didn't even have to release the affidavits. He just could have voted no, and Hegseth wouldn't be our defense chief right now. So Paul and Gracia, the only reason your nomination got pulled and Hegseth's didn't, I think, is because of your mother. You needed a mother like Pete Hegseth had. You needed a mother who knew how to raise a monster.